Hi, this is Wishop, and this is your weekday reading for Monday, February 23rd through Friday, the 27th. I cannot believe February is almost over. I know everyone is saying that, but it's really moving. It's really hauling, and the planetary aspects, I think, have a lot to do with that. So let's get into the reading. There's so much to say in so little time. Mars and Venus are still in Aries and are going to be all this week, together with each other. And I think that balancing act that they've been doing, and which I've been talking about in the last couple or few readings, is really at work. The sun is in Pisces, so it's still lighting up that very intuitive part of ourselves. Pisces is the oldest sign in the zodiac, and so it's deep, ancient wisdom kind of stuff. So that's still in play. That's still being called for. But we're starting to see a little bit of movement here because on Tuesday, the moon moves into Taurus. Taurus being a very practical, earthy, sensual, concrete kind of sign. And so the moon is bringing our thoughts and feelings into Taurus to go, with these revelations, with this new identity that Saturn in Scorpio has kind of helped us craft, or at least brought forward, and maybe we're still learning the dimensions of who we are now. But the moon in Taurus is saying, well, what do we think that is going to look like out in the world? When we, in the spring, as we say, metaphorically in the spring, but also probably in the spring, when we bring these new things forth, what are they going to look like in the world? And then the moon on Thursday is going to move into Gemini, which is going to say, and how are we going to communicate that to the world? But these things are still guided by the moon, very under the surface. This is that furious work that a bulb is doing under the snow. The snow is still on top. You can't tell that anything is happening. And then all of a sudden, when spring, bursts forth, you see all this growth, you see these flowers, you see all these green shoots poking up, and it's obvious that that bulb, several inches below the surface, has been working very hard. And you're in that position now. The fire of Mars is really sparking that growth, but it is still growth that is for you and not necessarily growth that everyone else can see. And as these planets are playing off Saturn in Sagittarius, and they're going to be aspecting to Saturn in Sagittarius this week. Saturn is thought of as a planet of limitations sometimes, but it's also a planet of boundaries. So it's a planet of setting terms, which again is that kind of, so what does this look like in some more concrete ways than maybe you've been dealing with before? As you've sort of got this amorphous sense of this new awakening. And Pisces, Neptune is in Pisces, which can have things feeling very big and a little bit vague. And so now Saturn in Sagittarius is saying, okay, as we aspect to that, what does this look like? Let's draw some lines around it. And actually that's what the cards in the I Ching are pointing to as well. So let's move on to that because I'm running out of time. Okay, so this week's I Ching is Mountain over Lake, which is number 41, which is decrease or decline. And that's not necessarily meaning a bad turn. It's meaning a time of quiet and of maintaining yourself and of simplifying, which is, I think, still what we're doing. Whatever your ideas are, whatever things it is that you want to work on, whatever goals you have in your life or passions, we've been counseled to keep looking at our heart and what do you really want? Where is your desire at? And we're still cleaning the cupboards. We've been doing a lot of that, but there's still more to go because, like the Fool, you're going to step forward with just a little hobo bag of the stuff you really need. And so this is still a time to be getting rid of stuff as you're fleshing out what the future looks like. Probably other things that don't really have a good place in it are going to come into focus. Maybe they weren't in focus before, but they're coming into focus now, and you can continue to simplify and keep your heart on the things that matter most. Mountain as a sign is an earth sign, but it also represents late winter, which is exactly where we are, in a period of stillness. So this is the point where we have apparent external stillness, but on the inside, an awful lot has been happening and will continue to happen. And that's the part to focus on, that internal fire of transformation that's been working in you like a little bulb that's going to bring forth these flowers. So I had 4, 1, 1, and then 1, 2, 2 in the dice that I threw. So obviously all those ones, that's the magician again. We've been seeing the magician. He's coming up a lot because we're at this point of manifesting will, of using all the tools we have to bring something forth. But the 2s at the bottom show us that the internal energy still is strongly tied to the High Priestess. So we still need to be looking inside, because the High Priestess is the keeper of secrets, and there are still secrets yet to be revealed. We're not launching forward because we still have secrets, even to ourselves. A lot has been learned, but there's still more to come. There's still more shoes dropping, and Uranus is still in Aries with Mars and Venus, which means there's still a chance for exciting lightning-like surprises out of the blue. Okay, so we're going to look at these cards just because I want to show them to you. I adore this magician from the Tarot of Reflections by Francesco Ciampi. I just love this vision of it. And here's the High Priestess. And then also, because the number 41 is decrease, it adds up to 5, which gives us our Hierophant card. Now, the Hierophant can be thought of as tradition or education. So maybe you're in an educational program or there's something you're doing research on. This is a great time to continue with that process, because there will be things that you'll find out, those secrets being revealed, that you'll go, oh, I'm really glad I knew that before I jumped forward into action, because I still had those things left to learn. But the Hierophant is also a gatekeeper, an initiator. So it may be that you're birthing into your new self. There are still some steps forward that you are going to be invited to take, and you might be invited to take them with the help of a mentor or a guide, someone that you know who sort of invites you, and that may be indicated as well. So as we move up to the random tarot cards for the week, my gosh, you would think that they're not random because, okay. So here, hello again, is our, this is from the Wildwood Tarot, which is fantastic. Here's again the 8 of Vessels, rebirth. Well, we just had this card, didn't we? And we're still having it. We're still in that rebirth process. And it's a water card, so it's still this deep inner emotional rebirth. And so we're still cleaning out those emotional closets. We're still looking into the past, and we're still just trying to refine ourselves. That's really what it is. It's not about remaking yourself from the ground up. Saturn in Scorpio did that, but this is about refining. Now, let me try and hold this thing steady. Okay, so the other card that we got, or another card that we got, is the Mirror, which looks sort of like the moon. In this deck, this is the Hanged Man. Now, the Hanged Man can indicate in some decks, you know, sacrifice or struggle or whatever. In this deck, it can signify actually healing, because we've got this character in the boat in back. I don't know if you can see it. That's healing, sort of like Arthur was sent to the Isle of Avalon to heal from his injuries. And this sort of mermaid character is holding up, I guess, a crystal ball, but to me it always looks like she's holding the moon. And she's got a mirror in her hand, and the crane is below her with its bag of secrets. Or actually, maybe it's the heron, but he still has the bag of secrets. Anyway, the idea is that we are looking at reflections of ourselves, and in that reflection of ourselves, we are being healed. So that is still being called for. Still look within, you know, be the bud, focus on yourself, focus on your own growth. You don't need to look at the mark that you're going to make in the world. You're still being transformed and refined. And when we move over to, I picked a third card, which is over here. Okay, so this card, now let me see if I can bring it forward. This is the Seer. This is the High Priestess in this deck. Hello, here she is again. Okay, so let me hold this so you can see. You can see that she's got this feathered cloak and she's got all these sort of fetishes around her, and she's looking in, again, more reflections. She's looking in the pool of water for reflections. But the Seer, what's really interesting about this Seer is I think of the High Priestess as sort of a queen of the seen and the unseen. But this High Priestess is actually fairly grounded. You know, she's got concrete things going on. She's surrounded by things which are solid, and that's the world tree behind her. So because we've got it in reverse, I often think of reverses as being sort of internal characteristics. So this particular Seer, if I can get her to stay put, oh, she's jumpy, is this particular Seer is again focused on the internal characteristics that we need to keep track of. Oh, hang on, let me check the time here. See if I'm over yet. Oh, okay, still, phew, okay, close. All right, so we're still focused on the internal characteristics. We're still focused on looking within, because there is transformation there. So I've said that about 1,000,000 times now. So here's the random card for the week, which I pulled from the Shadowscapes Tarot. Page of Pentacles. Okay, so here's the Page of Pentacles, and let's look at it upright. Sitting on this pentacle, there's the Owl of Wisdom. And this page, you know, we think of pages as being at the beginning of something. And this page really has her heart set, you could say, on this one pentacle, which looks like it's kind of sitting on a dragon's back, actually, to be honest. But when we look at it in reverse, we're saying maybe you don't have to have your heart set quite yet. Because, oh, sorry about all this. Having a little trouble with the tripod, excuse me. That maybe if you're really, really focused on a tangible goal, on an earthly goal, this is what it looks like, this is what it sounds like, this is what it's worth to me, this is all this stuff, that might still be a little early. And I know I keep saying that, but it just sort of keeps coming out that while it's time to be thinking about what that looks like, you don't have to put it in stone or pentacles now, because there are revelations about yourself, and the time that you spend going within is going to mean a lot, because we don't know what kind of flower you're going to bloom as in spring. You might be a crocus, you might be a hyacinth, you know, you might be a daffodil. We don't know what it's going to look like or where it's going to be. So I think you still want to keep that focus inside, because there are revelations yet to come. But enjoy that Martian feeling of being fired up, of having more energy, of feeling that sense of direction, of trying to balance out the receptive, divine feminine that is magnetic and attractive and compassionate, balancing that out with the forceful energy of Mars, which is really getting ready to move. And that's cool, because when it does get ready to move, I think we're going to be ready. We're going to know what it is we're doing, and that confusion is going to be resolved. And it's going to be resolved because we will have reached the next stage of initiation in our process. So that's kind of how I see it. I'm sorry for all the shaky camera thing. I'm looking at maybe getting a new camera this week. So anyway, thanks very much. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope this makes some sense to you, or is at least interesting. And rock on with your bad selves.